And we are recording.
All right, we can start with roll call.
All right, welcome to Protection and Policy for September 3rd. I would like to take the roll call. Alder Steuer, I am here. Alder Stevens.
Here.
Alder Lefebvre.
Here.
Alder Vanderleest. Is he here? Like, Attorney Bungert, can you hear him?
I cannot hear him, no.
Well, we're going to keep moving. He's efforting. You might want to put that in somehow. So we'll move forward.
Yes, so, but we do have quorum with Alder Steuer, Stevens, and Lefebvre, so we can move
Okay,
forward.
all right. Approval of the agenda. I look for a motion.
Motion to
I'll
approve.
move.
Moved by
Second.
Stevens, seconded by Lefebvre. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, that passes. Approval of the minutes. Do we have a
So moved.
motion? So
Second.
moved by Lefebvre, seconded by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, that passes unanimous.
That was motion by Lefebvre, second by Stevens.
I was going to ask, Alder Dorf, I was going to ask with, having this first on the agenda, I had wondered about moving it, and if we have a couple of these, like 2 and 3, we can move fairly quickly. And I'm, just because there might be some folks out here, and I don't know if I want them to wait for a while. So what do you think?
Alders, we would then have to do a motion to reconsider,
Let's
just
do
approve the agenda.
I just wanted to ask first if that's okay. So with that being said, I would entertain a motion to. John Vanderleest is on the phone now. Can you give me a second? Hello? I'm trying to multitask. This isn't going really well. John?
Oh, here. You want the phone?
John, we're in the middle of it here. What's up? What? Okay. We started the meeting and we had you as efforting. We do have a quorum right now, so just keep trying to get in, okay? All right. Okay, let's go back.
Alder Steuer, we would need to do a motion to
Yes.
reconsider.
We need a motion to reconsider to move,
Well, to a motion to reconsider the approval of the agenda, and then you would need to do a motion to amend and a motion
All
to
right.
approve as amended. So 3 steps.
I'd like to, and would entertain a motion, somebody, please?
I'll make a motion to reconsider the agenda.
Okay, by Lefebvre, do we have a second?
Good.
Second by Stevens, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, what's next?
So then we would do a motion to amend the agenda
Okay,
and to move item, I'm not sure what you wanted to, if you wanted
I would-
to just move item
that's-
number 1 after item number 3.
yes, that would be it. Do we have a motion to that
Item
effect
1 after 3.
after 3?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded by Stevens, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, all opposed, that passes.
And then now a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
By Stevens,
Second.
seconded by Lefebvre, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, that passes unanimously. That was simple.
Okay, 1 second. Let
All
me
right.
just catch up really quick. All right.
Okay. Are you ready?
And 1 second. Just have to skip through the items. So we are on to item number 2.
Okay, number 2, consideration with possible action on an appeal by Brandon Needle regarding the denial of his operator's license. Staff?
Yes, staff's recommendation is to deny this appeal as the appellant is a habitual law offender for offenses that substantially relate to the license activity and a convicted felon and therefore not qualified under Chapter 125. The appellant has presented some additional information regarding his rehabilitation and fitness to engage in the license activity. I believe he is in the meeting.
Okay.
So at this point, we can open the floor and he can address the committee.
I just wanted to check with police on that as well.
The police concur with law.
Okay, thank you. All right, I would entertain a motion to open the floor.
I'll make a motion to open the floor.
By LaFave, seconded by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the floor is now open. Mr. Needle, is he here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, for the record, please state your name and address, and then you can speak a little bit as to why you feel that you deserve this, and we will chime in and talk a little bit as well.
Okay. My name is Brandon Frank Neidl. I live on 1191 Belt Avenue, Lower, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54303.
Okay. All
And
right.
I have the owner of the gas station here with me too, for another possible person to speak on my behalf.
Okay. What are you, I just wanted to ask, where are you looking to apply to? I didn't see that offhand. You're working?
Well, I
right now?
ended up, the marathon ended up closing down. Well, he lost the marathon. It ended up going to somebody else. And I put in the appeal letter for 1335 Main Street, BP.
What kind of station is that?
The BP station on Main.
All right. Okay, well, go ahead. Tell me why you feel you should get a license.
For one, because I've come a long way. I sat my time. I've been out for six years and almost a month now. And I've completed my treatment that I've been asked to complete. I have been doing what I'm supposed to. I have 3 beautiful girls that I support every day. I'm married. I've been married for 3.5 years.
Okay.
And I'm trying to show the community that I could be a better person and be able to show that I'm reliable here in this community as well.
Are you outside right now? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yes, I am.
I just heard.
I'm actually at the BP by the owner right now. This is the owner next to me.
All right. Does the committee have any questions, Mr. Neidl, right now? Otherwise, I could ask, what is your name, sir? The owner.
My name is Sandeep and last name is Singh. I have known Brandon for almost now over a year now. And I believe he's a hardworking guy and he has proved himself that, and that he be given a chance to try and prove that he can be an asset to the community rather than a liability.
Right.
He, like himself said, he completed 6 years after, since he's been out, and he has proved himself that he can be worthy of a job like that. So I would request if something can be done in his case to make him prove that he's worth it.
All right. Committee, do you have any questions at all? Otherwise,
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Alder Stevens.
Maybe for the lieutenant. Mahoney.
You're muted.
Yes, go ahead.
So we see his prior history. Is there any pending charges currently or is nothing?
There was not, we don't have anything currently pending on him. The
Okay.
denial was based on what Attorney Bungart said.
All right.
And
Thank you.
under fair employment for the state of Wisconsin for licensing issues, we cannot consider pending charges, just convictions.
Okay.
All right. Okay,
Chairman, oops, sorry.
yes, go ahead, Alder LaFave.
Yeah, I always like giving people a second chance, but I am a little concerned about the sexual assault, second degree. It is not first degree, but of a child. That's a hard one.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, and I know that, once, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Can I ask how old was he at that time?
I was 20. I was
20?
20 years old.
Okay,
How old?
20.
20.
20?
20 years old.
20, okay.
And how old is he now?
Well, it's
I'll be
2007.
I'll be 34 on September 29th.
Okay.
Have you, yeah, go ahead, Alder LaFave. Do you have any other questions?
No, just that, yeah, this is a hard one. I do believe in people rehabilitating themselves and be able to get a chance to, stand on their feet and be productive again in the community. So to me, this is going to be a hard decision.
Right.
Mark, I'm in the meeting now. This is John Vanderleest.
Oh,
I'm in the meeting. I can hear what's going on.
Celebration. Okay, we're the floor is now open, and we're talking to Brandon Neidl and his boss. So I don't know if you've had a chance to listen in.
If you could just give me a little review on what's taking place, I'd appreciate it.
Well, the law department and police said that they're not agreeing with his petition to get a license. So we're just speaking right now. Alder LaFave is a little concerned because of the sexual assault of a child in 2007. He served his time. He doesn't have any pending legal matters right now. He's had a number of probation violations over time, but nothing, some misdemeanors, but he's trying to get a position. So Alder LaFave is a little concerned about that. I'm probably a little concerned in that as well. Alder Stevens just asked if there was anything pending at all, and there does not seem to be anything at this time. So I don't know if you have any specific questions right now of Mr. Neidl. He's on, the floor is still open.
I was going to ask if John heard me say that I do believe, though, in giving people a second chance.
I did hear that part, yes.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Yep. John, go ahead.
I guess I'll kind of wait and hear what the rest of the committee's got to say.
All right.
I'd like to see him get another chance. It sounds like he's been quite a few years without any problems. I don't know, his exact history, but
well, it's on. If you look at the agenda, there's a list of things, arrest and conviction records. So if you can open that up.
What? I don't see when the last one was.
2017.
Just a probation violation in 2017. So it's been 3 years since. I'm not sure. I can give a little bit of context for the committee as far as their deliberations go. With respect to prior convictions for licensing matters, there is, I'm looking up the letter right now, I think factors that the committee can consider are evidence of the nature and seriousness of the offense, evidence of the circumstances relative to the offense, including mitigating circumstances, the age of the applicant at the time of the offense, the length of time that has elapsed since the offense was committed, letters of reference by persons, and any other evidence of rehabilitation. And then in accordance with that, if the committee feels that the applicant has, or the appellant has provided sufficient evidence of those things, they are precluded from denying the appeal. Essentially, once the appellant has shown evidence of those of rehabilitation, then we cannot deny based on the prior conviction.
So as So
Can I
as of
ask-
now, do you have any information that way? I mean, I didn't really ask Mr. Neidl if he had letters, from,
He did have, he has, there are some, there's information to the committee in his application.
application, okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, go ahead, Alder.
may I ask what the probation violations were in 2017 and 16?
Sure. Mr. Neidl? Do you have that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I do not off the top of, not with me. No, I do not have the violations from back in 2007.
Uh-huh.
You do or don't? You don't have violations?
I don't have no violations since, like you guys said, that I know of since 2000. I don't know what was.
17 and 16. No, I want
trying
to
to
know
think.
what were the probation violations for in 2017?
Well,
Brian?
I don't have that information. On his CIB, it just states that there was, I'm not sure what he would have been arrested for, picked up for, or had any contact with PD. But at that point, it's just listed,
Yeah.
it's just
Can we ask
listed as
Lieutenant?
probation violation and turned over to, and it's not listed that he had any kind of fine or any kind of sentence imposed as a result of it, just that there was some sort of contact and it was a violation of probation.
Can we ask,
we did, well, I think we did just ask him, and Mr. Neidl, you weren't
He doesn't
sure.
have any information on it.
Can we ask the lieutenant?
Yeah, go ahead.
With our in-house reporting system, I can't tell you what the violation was. It doesn't necessarily mean it happened in Green Bay. Back at that time, a probation violation could have been something as simple as he violated it if there was a no drink against him. And if that happened in Milwaukee, they would have called the probation agent and it would have been a probation violation. So I have and I'm not saying it was a no drink, but it's very hard to determine what the violation was because it could be one of 100 different things that his agents decided that he violated and put him back in jail for a bit.
Well, I agree with
Okay,
Alder
thank you.
Stevens. I just wanted to kind of find out what those were because it's pretty vague. I mean, if it was very serious, I'm sure that would come forward. We'd see something that would I think for the most part, I feel pretty good on most of it. But the 2007 assault of a child, I think that's a tough one. And I presume that he's on the registry. I mean, that's a permanent kind of thing. Well, listen, why don't we, does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Neidl? Otherwise, I would have a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
Okay, by Vanderleest, seconded by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? All right, committee. What are your thoughts? Anybody?
I'd say give him another chance, give him one more chance. And he sounds like he's trying to make a new start, and I'd say give him another chance on this.
Okay.
I'll second
Anybody
it.
else?
That's the motion.
All right, if you can bring a motion, you can bring a motion forward if you'd like.
John, do you want to make it a motion?
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, and then I'll second it.
Second, okay. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor? Oh, pardon?
Aye.
No. Oh, aye. That's unanimous. I will tell Mr. Neidl that this is only a recommendation from the committee. City Council 15th at 6 p.m. at City Hall, but it's a Zoom meeting as well. And if you have any questions, if you want to just check in, there's always a chance that it could be overturned, but generally speaking, our committee will okay it and we shouldn't have any issues. But just to be on the safe side, you may want to check in at City Council. So that does pass 4-0. Okay. Good luck.
I have a question.
Who does?
I do, Brandon.
Hold on a second. Motion open the floor.
I'll make a motion, open the floor.
Okay, by LaFave, seconded by
Second.
Stevens. All right, all in favor, aye.
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 All right, go ahead, Mr. Nidal.
My question is when is the city council meeting? Is that today or is that?
No, I mentioned September 15th.
Okay.
It's a
I'm
Tuesday.
sorry, I just didn't hear it. My phone keeps going in and out.
Oh, September 15th at 6 p.m. And it's a Zoom meeting. When this item comes up, chances are it'll go through, but there's always that possibility. So if there's any issues. So just to be on the safe side, this is only a recommendation, and city council is the final say. So good luck, and we'll be watching. We want you to do well, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate
You
it.
take care. All right, a motion to close the floor from someone?
Motion to close the floor.
Close the floor.
By Vanderleest, seconded by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that passes. Bunger, do you let me know when you're ready?
Yep, we are on to item number 3.
Number 3, consideration with possible action on an application for an available Class B combination license for Sliced on Main LLC at 1238 Main Street with licensed premises description as 1,800 square feet building, kitchen, 2 bathrooms, walk-in cooler, large bar room, small patio. Previously licensed as Main Street Dreamster in 2020, licensed here, staff.
Yes, so this establishment is in the old Main moratorium, but it meets an exception as this premise was licensed previously within the 60-day period, last licensed on June 30th. The applicant is requesting an outdoor patio, which doesn't apply with ordinance requirements. If the committee looks at the packet, it's a raised deck, almost like on the second floor or almost second floor with steps leading up to it. But it isn't, so it's walls for 3 portions of the patio, and then the back end of the patio is just like a deck railing. So it doesn't have this 6-foot impervious fencing on one side. Accordingly, the way the requirements have to be waived. Staff doesn't have an objection as it is separated. There's a delineation. There's only one point of access from the outside, and it's on the back end of the building. So accordingly, we would recommend that council waive the ordinance requirements for an outdoor premise with respect to height and imperviousness, and to approve the request.
Okay, police.
The police concur with the law department. The one question I do have, and I hope the owner might be here, is with it being the outdoor deck and with the way the fence is, it's above the ground. But if he plans on having security staff out on that deck when they are outside serving to prevent people from just walking right down into the parking lot.
All right, is the owner here?
Yeah, how's it going, guys? Can you hear me?
Okay, I'd like
Motion to open the floor.
Motion by Stevens, so we have a second by Vanderleest. I'm sorry, LaFave, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, Mr. O'Connell, you're on to address for the record, and then speak to what Lieutenant Mahoney just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. Pat O'Connell, 236 Mathers, 54303. Yeah, exactly. We're still kind of open. When we met with police a couple weeks ago, a license application and recommendation, it seemed like, we were pretty open to whatever best case scenario is. So obviously, if there is a way for us to, have that, or if we want to have the bouncer out on the back deck or back area, making sure that, the parking lot, or if we want to have people coming in through the front and have the back, where it's somehow washed and making sure people going on it. Either option, we're totally up for. Whatever's recommended by the, Green Bay Police Department, we want to make sure it happens.
Well, we appreciate that. I kind of wish we had a picture of something to look at here, but
Did submit some to Miss Fugue
It's in the,
Is it in the packet? I don't know.
it is in the packet.
Yeah.
So if you,
Yeah.
if you open up the packet for item 3, there are pictures of the deck.
And obviously, the biggest thing we're fighting against is, fire safety. We could just put a rope or something there to make sure people aren't just leaving or walking out with beverages. But then, you fight into, if the building's burning or something and there's some sort of issue with exiting. So if setting somebody back there is the best case scenario, we totally would make that happen.
Is this going to be a smoking area as well, or how are you dealing with?
I would imagine that's probably the spot that people will be smoking on that back deck.
Okay. I'm just trying to imagine where this place is located. Some of your neighbors. I'm just wondering the neighbors.
Cock'n'Bull, Los Bandidos East.
Okay. All right.
Road.
Okay. All right. Committee, do you have any questions?
No, no, right now.
Okay. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
Alder Gerlach, go ahead. Alder Gerlach.
Mr. O'Connell, you remember me. I met with you and
Yeah.
you were there and saw the premises, and we talked about the flooding issue. And I was just wondering, I thought you told me at that time that you were going to have entrance only from Main Street, and then you would use the back deck for for people to go out on, but they wouldn't be able to enter or exit that way. Is that correct?
So that was part of the plan. I believe a few days later, we met with a couple inspectors again, as well as the police department. And again, it's just, there's only 2 entrances and exits, the front and the back. So if we were to not allow people or somehow board off the back, then it's a fire hazard. So in a perfect world, it would be, just through the front, but there has to be, a way to watch the back. And I think the best way to do that is making sure that somebody's out there watching, the exit through the back, whether it be in summertime, there's an outdoor little patio bar there, having somebody there, or just having a bouncer on the back deck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just one other question on the flooding. Has that issue, have you made any progress?
Nothing from what I've heard. The water levels are down, so there's nothing in the lot right now, but not a ton of progress there, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Otherwise, a motion to close the floor.
We have a motion by Alder Stevens. We just need a
Stevens,
second.
okay. Do we have a second by LaFave? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Committee, do you have any thoughts on this?
Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'd be okay as long as he has a bouncer or somebody's out there controlling that people aren't just exiting, or that people can pass, things down into the parking lot to minors or whatever. There has to be some control.
Right. Duly noted. I kind of feel the same way. Alder Vanderleest, do you have anything?
I just say that, any questions, about how the police department wants to, have it regulated, we should just do a little follow-up with the police department so he comes in, with the right proposal there as far as how he's going to, handle that. I would say maybe make another contact with the Green Bay Police Department and, and that'll kind of solve the problem. Thank you.
All right. Alder Stevens, go ahead.
Just a quick note before, just in relation to what the alders are bringing up. Any of the items for licensing all require approval of the proper authorities, which automatically is PD and inspections before any liquor license is issued. So it's not necessarily, it's not necessary to add that in. But we can't put on other contingencies specifically to the approval.
We can do that, right?
Right. It's already contingent. It's already contingent on the approval of PD and inspections before the license is issued.
Okay. Well, then we don't have to add that contingency. It's already part of it. Alder Vanderleest, are you good with that?
Yeah, I'd say a motion to approve. I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay.
We do need to do the, I'm sorry to interrupt. We need the motion
yes. Motion
to
to
waive
close
the
the-
requirements and to approve.
Okay.
Okay.
Someone make a motion for that. Alder Vanderleest?
Yes, I did.
Okay, to waive that, seconded by Stevens, correct?
Right.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, that passes. Okay, now.
We're good.
Now we-
Okay. All right.
Do you
So
want us
now
to-
we are back to item number 1.
Okay, so we approve this now.
Yes,
So-
it's approved. Mm-hmm.
It is approved. Okay, thank you for that. All right, let me get in here. All right, number 1. Consideration with possible action on a communication from Alderdorf to research and create a fair housing ordinance for the city of Green Bay. Previously discussed at the July 8, 2019, July 13, 2020, and August 10, 2020 protection and policy meetings. Alderdorf, you are here.
I'm here.
So, if you care to go forward, because there'll probably be some people that want to speak, so I'll let you kind of dictate how you want to see this go, and we're here for you.
Chair, do we need to review the entire history that I reviewed last time, or do we just want to get on to questions?
I think we've looked at this a number of times. I think a few of us, and there's a lot here, so it was a lot to disseminate. So I would hello, who's speaking? Okay, I would ask the committee initially before we get into it. Does anyone have any specific questions right now? Can we just move forward? Who's trying to get in here?
Not seeing anybody. No one's in the
Okay.
waiting room.
I
And,
just hear some noise in the background.
right.
So if we can eliminate that, that'd be great. At least.
Chair, I imagine at council I'll go over all the history again.
Oh yeah, yes, I believe
Right,
so. So I'm looking
perhaps
at.
just streamline it a little bit.
Yeah, I would say yes. And if we have questions, we can interject while you're doing that. Is that okay?
Oh, okay. I mean, yes.
So why don't you just, go ahead. We were, I think, one of the concerns that, I've had, and maybe with some of the other alders, and they can speak on the matter as well, is the length of this general ordinance, and wondering if there's maybe too much in this particular ordinance. Maybe it could be beat up a little bit differently. That's just an initial thought, and on that, we'd appreciate. So we're here to discuss. So I would say,
Yeah, it had started out quite a bit longer. It was like 30 some pages initially. So a lot has been removed. And really the commission intent has been changed quite a bit. I think that I'm fine with the current length of it. I think it looks longer because it's in big printing right now, but I think it would not look as long. So, but if we were to remove anything, I don't have anything I'd suggest be removed.
okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Committee? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was wondering if Barb would be, we'll take a look at. I think that the first part is almost separate from the second part when it starts at 50.04, which is completely just the housing section. I think it's almost like two things. If we could have two resolutions.
Or two
Maybe
ordinances.
The first part, or ordinances, yeah. The first part talks about just, general discrimination, race, and different things. And then the second part goes on to the housing. That starts at 4 is the housing discrimination. I would think it should be like two of them. I think they should be almost separate.
Well,
What do you think, Barb?
Well, I think that, there's a lot of definitions that you need to, I will call on Lindsay Mather, if that's all right with you. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Attorney Mather.
Hi, everyone. Attorney Lindsay Mather here. So I just wanted to explain the setup a little bit. I know this is longer than most of the GOs that we're talking about. This does create an entirely new chapter, which is why it's so long, because most of our GOs are usually just one particular section that we're editing, whereas this is an entire chapter. And excuse me, there's actually, there's the general discrimination part, like Alder LaFave was talking about, and then there's actually 3 different things that are being addressed. Discrimination in housing, discrimination in places of public accommodation and amusement, and discrimination in employment. And then there's another section that is the creation of a commission to address diversity and inclusion issues in the city. So there are a lot of moving pieces to this, which is why it is so long. But like I said, just keep in mind that it's not just the creation of a new section like we would normally do, it's an entire chapter.
So can I ask, do you feel that it should be all in one as it is?
I believe it makes sense to have it all in one so that it's all, it can all be found in the same place.
Okay. Okay. No, I just had that question. I just thought, you know, it seemed like different parts. That's fine.
Okay. Anything else, Alder LaFave? Or for now? Okay.
Not for now.
Well, I was going to ask. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alder Stevens.
I have to leave now.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, we'll miss you.
And I may not be back. So.
Oh,
Good luck with whatever you're doing.
I have a third-party inspector coming here.
Ah.
Okay.
We don't have enough of those around. We need more.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Have
We're
a
still
good
quorum here,
weekend, I
so
guess.
we're fine. Okay. Lindsay, I was going to ask you, what was I going to ask? I lost my train of thought here. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to, it'll come back to me. I'm sorry. Anybody else on the committee have anything right now?
I'd like to talk about 5011. I'd like to know how many violations, if we could ask that to our attorney, how many violations have we had in the city of Green Bay on that the state of Wisconsin, the federal government is saying, how many complaints have we had in the last year that have been referred to the state and to the federal government as far as violations? I'd like to know how many that have these.
So as of right now, we don't have a mechanism for those complaints to come through the law department. I know that, Director Renier-Wig is here to discuss housing a little bit if we want to get into the complaints that that the Green Bay Housing Authority has received. But as far as complaints as to employment, public accommodations, those kinds of things, I have no way of knowing how many we've received because none of them have come through our office. If people are submitting them, they're submitting them independently to state and federal agencies other than the city because currently the city doesn't have an equal rights ordinance in place.
Okay. So now, have you had any complaints from citizens that have brought anything forward as far as they're not getting served by the state or the federal government that that they haven't been able to resolve these problems? Have you had any complaints as far as that, they've taken it to the state and they've taken it to the federal and they haven't had any resolving of their complaint? Or have the complaints been satisfied?
I haven't heard anything one way or the other.
Okay. I guess, when I look at 5011, it says here the Equal Rights Commission shall consist of 9 residents of the city appointed by a diverse and representative cross-section of community, inclusive or traditionally unrepresented groups who shall be members only as long as they shall reside in the city of Green Bay. We're talking about 9 different people. We're talking about, it says here, the commission shall be appointed by the mayor, subject to confirmation by the council. The alder shall be elected for a term of 2 years, and the other members of the commission shall be appointed for 3 years. except the 3 members are initially appointed. I think that, as far as these, complaints that might come forward, I think that, a lot of these people won't have the expertise as far as to handle these, as far as the discrimination. I think that the state and the federal government, I think they have the qualified people really to move forward. Where a lot of the citizens, if you read through this document, there's a lot of different definitions and a lot of different interpretations. And I think that, we might be jumping into something here when, we're going to appoint a 9-member commission, an equal rights commission, and then we're talking about $1,000, in other words, forfeiture. Any person violating any of the provisions of this section shall, upon conviction, be subject to a forfeiture of not more than $1,000. I think that a lot of the citizens and landlords and different business owners, they would have to procure an attorney to handle the situation as far as how they're going to move forward. So the city of Green Bay, I think we're jumping into some uncharted territory. We only have, in other words, 9 residents of the city, and I think that this is probably, most of this is probably dealt with a judicial body as far as that know the laws and the terms. And so I think the city may be looking into jumping into uncharted territory. And I'd like to hear about from some of the public how they feel about it a little bit later on. Okay, thank you.
Okay, John, we'll get back to you. Alder Dorf, did you want to say something right now?
I wanted to say that Alder Vanderleest has a misunderstanding of the purpose of the commission, and I'd like Attorney Mather to explain. It has nothing to do with imposing fines on anyone. So Attorney Mather, would you explain that, please?
Certainly. So the equal rights commissions in some cities do accept the complaints that are submitted by the constituents of those cities. Ours is not set up that way. So our commission will not be addressing the substance of complaints. When complaints are submitted, they'll come to our office and they'll go to our city prosecutor, who will review the complaint and determine if one of the state or federal agencies that deals with these complaints has jurisdiction over the facts that are alleged in whatever the complaint is describing. So, for example, if it's alleging employment discrimination, it may go to the State Department of Workforce Development, the Equal Rights Division, or the federal EEOC. If it's housing, it might go to HUD. But if another one of those agencies has jurisdiction, the city's not going to take any action on it. There's a specific provision in this ordinance that says that if somebody else has jurisdiction, we're going to inform the complainant of the proper entity to whom they should be submitting their complaint, but we personally will not be taking action. The only time action would be taken would be if the facts in the complaint allege a violation that doesn't fall within the jurisdiction of one of those other agencies. In that situation, the complaint would be sent to an independent investigator who would submit a report back to our city prosecutor, who would at that time determine whether an action should be brought in municipal court for a civil forfeiture. So all of that is taking place within the law department. Or for the most part, we're not going to be taking any action on these complaints, but if we do, it's going to be the discretion of the attorneys in the law department. It's not going to be the individuals on the commission. What the commission is for is to get reports from the Human Resources Department of the city as far as actions that are being taken by the various city departments to further the city's diversity and inclusion goals. So they'll be getting those, HR will, kind of gather that data from all of the departments and then report on that to the commission. That's one part of it. Another part of it is the ability of the commission to meet with local housing providers, local employers, various local groups, and based on those conversations, provide a report to the mayor and to council as far as the state of discrimination within the city of Green Bay. So not just what is going on in the community, but also what the city government itself is doing to kind of be an example in eliminating discrimination and having a representative workforce. So again, I just want to really emphasize that there's a big distinction between enforcement of any potential violation and the commission. The commission will have nothing to do with enforcement.
Okay. Alder Vanderleest, do you have anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to say that from what the state and the federal government, as far as their requirements, what are the additives that you're putting in this ordinance? What are the new rules and regulations that the city of Green Bay is trying to enforce? Do you have a copy of what the state and the federal are enforcing right now? And then we'd like to see what's the difference between what the city's trying to do than what the state and the federal is the law. In other words, the federal and the state, they're controlling it right now. What are the new additives as far as, when I say additives, I'm saying what are the new wording and in other words, we got different, in other words, the equal rights part of it. What's the difference between what the federal and the state are doing versus what the city's trying to enact right now? What are the more restrictions? What are the cities trying to add on? That's what I'd like to know. If we could get a copy of that.
We got your question. I think we got it pretty well.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Attorney Mather. Go ahead, Attorney.
Sure. So the actual provisions as far as the types of discrimination that are prohibited are largely mirrored or paralleled in either state or federal law. Some of the provisions rely more heavily on federal law. Some of them rely more heavily on state law. It's kind of a combination of the two, but for the most part, in fact, I didn't identify any when I was going through any of the prohibited practices. All of them are found in either state or federal law. There are some variations between what this proposed ordinance defines as a protected person and what's defined as a protected class under state and federal law. And so those are I don't know if you want me to read the entire list. They're long lists, but there are, I'm not really going to read the list.
No, don't do that.
But there are differences between the different levels. Federal law, for example, is very minimal. Both the housing portion only has 5 protected classes that are specifically named. I'm sorry, housing has 6, employment has 5.
Could you tell what those are offhand?
Sure. You bet. So employment is Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which specifies race, color, religion, sex, or national origin as the protected classes.
Okay.
For public accommodations, it's that same list, except that sex is not listed.
Okay.
And that was passed, the public accommodations law was passed at the same time as that was part of the civil rights law as well.
And when were those passed? When were those passed?
1964.
1964. Okay. Alder Vanderleest, anything else offhand?
I'll let some of the other committees join in or chime in for right now.
Thank you. Alder LaFave?
Yeah, kind of. I was going to say the same thing, kind of a, I believe that what we are putting here is all either in the state or the federal. I don't think that we can put in maybe like a protected classes. It should be, we're learning more things, and I can see a little bit more in protective. We just have to be careful that we're not stricter, I believe, than the state or the federal in some of these things. But, and I think too, the commission, the reason I think for the commission is that my understanding is that when people have they know there's a violation, where do they go? How do they report it? And I think this is what the commission is for, that these would come up and then the commission can look at them and they can then refer them to the proper authorities. Is that how I'm reading this?
You want me to respond?
Yes.
I can respond to that.
Sure.
Alder, so this is similar to what I was discussing before in response to Alder Vanderleef's question. The commission won't actually be considering people's complaints in any capacity. So the complaints will come to the law department's office. Once one of our attorneys reads through the complaint and determines, let's say, for example, that the Department of Housing and Urban Development has jurisdiction, then we as an office will notify the complainant that we're not going to take any action on this complaint because HUD has jurisdiction. Here's how you can submit your complaint to HUD. Okay. So we'll provide that direction, but we're not going to forward it on their behalf. But again, that's going to be done at the staff level, not at the commission level.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else, Alder Lefebvre? Otherwise, I have a question too, and Alder Gerlach as well. You can chime in anytime.
Sure. Go ahead.
Alder Gerlach, did you want to go?
Sure. I would. I just want to say that I know you're all tired of hearing how everything's new to me, but this is truthful. This is the first ordinance I ever saw developed as an alder. And I remember the first time I read it, I did find it absolutely overwhelming. It is long and it is comprehensive. And at that time, I found a word in it that I felt was inflammatory. And I went back to the law department and I said, I think you shouldn't use this word. And they changed it. And I had a question about one of the protected classes. I didn't understand why they were protected, and that was explained to me. And then I just let it go. I talked with a few citizens about it who called me and had read it and were interested in discussing it. Referred one to the mayor, and he had a nice conversation with the mayor about it. And then when it came up again, when I saw that it was going to be considered at this meeting, I read it again very carefully. And once again, I found a sentence that just did not come as far as I could see as a reader. And so I contacted Attorney Mather and we worked through that sentence till we got it. So I was happy with it because I want this to be meaningful to all the citizens who read it. And I appreciate the changes and improvements that have been made. Now that I've read it very carefully, I understand the purpose of that commission. I would personally be honored to be alder to serve on that commission. I see now it's not a judgment or authoritarian body. It's kind of like a watchful body that makes sure that everything's going in the direction that the city has said it would go. And just one final point, and that is that if this is more specific than the state or the federal law, the important thing is that we as a city are standing up and saying, we will make sure that everyone is treated equally. And I think we're moving in that direction. We're going to be hiring a diversity and inclusion coordinator. And I just think this is a perfect addition to it. And I will support it at council.
Thank you, Attorney. Thank you, Alder Gerlach. Those are some very good comments. I think, this is going to go to council. I think some things, there might be some lines or in here that we might look at and say, what about this or what about that? I appreciate the fact that you went in and talked to law about it. I think we all want something that's good and workable. So I think what I wanted to do is talk to Cheryl Rainier-Wig, if I could. I had a question, Cheryl. We were talking about this entire ordinance, the fact that we have a lot of, as Alder Dorf said, several pages of descriptions and such before we get into the housing. Now, you've been with the planning office, quite some time, kudos to you and all that. But, and I had asked Attorney Mather at one time about this as well, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about that later. But the fact that there was a fair housing ordinance that came through in Green Bay, I believe in 1968. Do we have any information on that at all?
Wow, I haven't been with the city that long, Sawyer.
No, I know that. But that's the fact.
I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of that ordinance.
Well, anyway, I've been reading a little bit of the history in Green Bay, and there was some difficulty years ago as far as housing and such like that. And I was just wondering with the powers that your office has, if a lot of that isn't taken care of already by procedures and such. You got HUD and, you got different rules and regulations, and you have inspection department that checks on things. So, I'd like your opinion as far as your thoughts on this ordinance, and if you feel that it will make your job easier or helpful, et cetera. Could you do that?
Yep. Yes. So I guess I don't want to go back through the history because I wasn't at the prior meetings, but I think everyone needs to know that the reason for the fair housing ordinance, at least initially, just a fair housing ordinance, was a recommendation by a company that we're required to hire every 5 years to study. They call it the analysis of impediments to fair housing. So we get funding from HUD every year, right? And one of the things HUD says is, that's great, you can take our money, but you need to make sure that you're affirmatively furthering fair housing. So every 5 years, we have to do a consolidated plan, and we have to do this analysis to see what we're doing as a city to make sure that we're promoting fair housing. We did that back in 19, and that gave us some recommendations. And they were some extensive ones. Many of them we're working on. Some have been dealt with supply. We need more supply of affordable housing in Green Bay. We need more affordable, period, with regards to income. There's some home ownership types of things we could be promoting to help folks get into housing. There's actually some racial segregation that's taking place in our city demographically that we need to look at through our zoning codes. But one of the things that they let us know was that we have a lack of a fair housing ordinance in the city of Green Bay. That is a recommendation that they are making to us, that we should be passing a fair housing ordinance. So as part of this study, it says it is best practice for communities that they affirmatively further fair housing to create a local fair housing ordinance by which local leaders affirm local support of fair housing choice, right? So the recommended actions is that we should create this ordinance and show local support for certain vulnerable populations. And I want to just comment, which is why this all started with the fair housing ordinance. Alder Dorf came forward through the Redevelopment Authority and is following through on that recommendation made to the city. But I wanted to comment on that because as part of our contract with HUD, we are required to hire an entity, we RFP every year, where we can send fair housing complaints to. And that's the Milwaukee Fair Housing Council that we are under contract with now. So I looked up some stats just because there were some questions on the number of complaints that we'd received, right? And I can tell you that because this study was done in 19, they looked back at 18, we had 13 fair housing complaints that were referred to the Fair Housing Council in Milwaukee for follow-up, which is up. We had 9 the year before and 5 before. So in 19, we had 10 complaints, and that was through the first quarter. January through March. 19 instances of technical assistance were provided as well. And then in 2019, the Milwaukee Fair Housing Council also made 32 referrals to other agencies for non-housing related issues. So I think there is discrimination taking place in Green Bay. there are people that don't make those complaints either because they're afraid of being homeless, they're afraid of retaliation from landlords. We kind of know that's happening. So I think minimally a fair housing ordinance should be passed, just to make sure that we are affirmatively furthering fair housing in the city of Green Bay. That would make HUD happy. The comprehensive ordinance, I mean, I read through it. I quite honestly, I don't understand why we wouldn't do it. It's just another tool for people who might be in a situation where they're experiencing discrimination, that they have another entity to go to make a referral to. And I need to mention that the majority of the complaints that were made through the Milwaukee Fair Housing Council were people with disabilities that made those complaints. Okay. So we got to remember that that group of people is a broad group of people that sure. that could be affected by these things. So
I used to work at a Spiro, so I know a lot of what they've gone through. Have you had any pushback at all, or any of you, on, from apartment owners, Brown County Apartment Association, or other home situations where I think they're fearful of maybe pushback if they do not rent to somebody and that person might have had a felony record or some kind of issue where their credit rating was very poor? Has that ever been talked about at all, as far as, this is kind of a broad-based ordinance, but there's always underlying developments or things that are out there. And I'm just wondering if any of that's ever been touched on, because any ordinance forward, there's always going to be two sides. There's always going to be a side of moving forward with this, but there's also, other folks too that might look at it as a pushback on them. I don't know if I'm making myself clear at all on that, Cheryl.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I guess maybe Lindsay can help me out on this ordinance, but some things are not protected. So, landlords have the ability to control their rental properties. They just have to basically follow state and federal law, which they hopefully are already. This reaffirms that through the city. So some things, you can deny a tenant, some things you can't. And that really depends on the situation. So.
Well, I like the fact. Go ahead, Attorney Mather.
So this ordinance does not include prior arrest or conviction record as one of the protected classes. So that's not it's still something that landlords can consider, because it's not one of the protected classes under our ordinance. State law says that you cannot discriminate against someone in employment based on arrest or conviction records, but it doesn't say that for housing and public accommodations. So we didn't include that in our definition of protected persons.
Okay.
Additionally, I believe, I can't find it right this moment, but there is a provision in here that says, with respect to housing, that a landlord is still able to assess an individual's ability to pay their rent. And so just doing that is not going to get you in any kind of trouble under this ordinance. Okay. Those are still allowed. They're allowed under federal and state law, and they're allowed under this ordinance because they have to be. I mean, it would just be counterintuitive to not let a landlord figure out if a prospective tenant is going to be able to pay their rent.
Well, I think that's a very important point to make, and I'm sure it'll come up at council as well. I think, because I've had a number of apartment owners call, and I think they're looking at the worst case scenario. But if it's worded in such a way that they still have some control over that without fear of repercussion, I think that's important to at least, discuss that a little bit. So, and like I said, I was under the impression that, this fair housing ordinance that was passed in the late 60s took care of a lot of things, but obviously it doesn't seem like it has. Cheryl, it doesn't seem to.
I can't speak to that ordinance from the 60s.
Yeah, I know, you weren't there. I know, you keep saying that. You're not, come on. I started before you did. We used to work together years ago. Anyway, does anybody, committee, do you have any other questions right now?
Otherwise, Alder Sawyer.
Oh, Alder Weary. Oh, wow. It's like poof, there you are.
watching you at work here, Mark. You're doing a great job.
I'm trying. All right, Alder Weary, did you?
Yeah, I
have
had a question
Yes.
for either Attorney Mather or Attorney Bungert, whoever wants to field it. I see that the agenda item is consideration of possible action to create a fair housing ordinance, but the attachment is an equal rights ordinance, which has, numerous parts. One is housing, so that would apply to the agenda item, but the others, public places and amusement, city facilities, employment, and equal rights commission really have nothing to do with it. So I don't think this is properly noticed, the rest of it. Because if you were a citizen and you look at the agenda item, you're like, well, okay, I don't rent out to anybody. I don't have to worry about this. It's nothing that pertains to me. But when you see what's in it, what's actually presented, it could pertain to a whole lot of other people. So I don't think it's noticed correctly.
Okay, well, thank you, Alder Weary.
I don't know if we could just handle housing separately, handle housing and then have a different communication to handle an equal rights ordinance or whatever you need to do, just so that people are aware, for open government of what we're doing.
Okay. Alder Weary, Alder Dorf, did you want to answer to that?
Yeah, this has been discussed as the equal rights ordinance on July 8th, 2019, July 13th, 2020, August 10th, 2020. I think it's fairly well known that this is in addition to housing and equal rights ordinance. We could change the word for the meeting on September 15th for city council, but I think it's been noticed properly, and we've explained, and I certainly could go through all that history with you right now.
No offense, but my question really was for the attorney. Not that you're not an attorney, but
No. I asked her to chime in.
All right.
So,
Yeah,
Attorney, I did it.
Go ahead.
My
Attorney
fault.
Mather.
Attorney Mather, can you answer to this?
Attorney Chavez is actually going to take this one.
Oh, who is?
This is Vanessa Chavez.
Okay, Vanessa, go ahead, Attorney Chavez.
Thank you. So the reason it's still listed as this is because that was the original agenda item. The agenda item has morphed over time. So it's not that it hasn't been noticed properly. It's just that the item has morphed.
Point of order, a city attorney, whenever we've had items that morph, we have to put in a separate communication. Otherwise, it's misleading to everybody in the public.
What I am recommending is that should this pass, and the committee actually recommend that the council take action on it, at that point, the item, when it goes to council, should clarify exactly what is being voted on.
It still doesn't handle the public notice at all. If you're looking in on an agenda, you're seeing public housing. I think this is subterfuge on what's being discussed.
All the worry
on the agenda item.
All the worry I was going to ask, when did you come into the meeting? Because we've been talking about this for a little while, and
It don't have to be noticed correctly, and it's not.
Okay.
Go ahead, do whatever you want, but it's not noticed correctly.
I guess what I'd like to do is look at, like it said, we discussed this at 3 other meetings. I'd have to go back to the minutes and see how that was disseminated.
Well, then in the future, I'm going to bring something forward about Colburn Park, and then through discussion, parks start talking about every other park in the city, and then just pass it as a Colburn Park agenda.
Okay.
Same thing we're talking about here.
I follow your line of reasoning. Yeah. I just need to, this is going to be fully discussed at council anyhow.
Well, I understand, but we always get yelled at for doing it there. So.
Okay.
I did have a question though, a separate line, since it looks like we're going to move ahead anyway, but Attorney Mather had mentioned that everything was found in state and federal law. Now there's an exception, but she said everything was found in state and federal law. The only changes were a change of definition to protective classes.
Well, it sounded like there were.
So.
It sounded like in housing they were talking about race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. Well, that was for employment, and then for housing it was the same list except it didn't have the sex of the individual. So it was a little. It was few.
Added? So what is stricter? What wording, what protective classes have been added?
Well, there's quite a bit in the first page. I don't know, do you want that all read?
I can actually speak to this a little more in depth because I don't know that I fully answered the question the first time around. So federal law, as I alluded to, is rather minimal. The state law goes a little bit further. And it unfortunately, protected classes defined differently in all three statutes. So there's three statutes. Well, there's a lot of statutes, but the ones in particular, the employment law statute, the housing statute, and the public accommodation statute all use a different list of protected classes. But the list that's in our ordinance is the same as the state housing code list of protected classes, with the exception of creed. They don't use both religion and creed. They just say religion. Receipt of rental assistance, gender identity, gender expression, gender nonconformity, transgender status, past or present military service. I will say that the state law does include sexual orientation and sex, which under recent Supreme Court case law fall, those other gender-related categories that we have fall under those two categories. So even though they're not articulated in state law, they are still among the protected classes that are protected under the law. Let's see. The list is slightly longer for employment. Also, the state list of protected classes for employment, as I mentioned before, includes arrest record, conviction record. It also includes two other provisions or two other classes that we did not include, which are the outside use or non-use of lawful products and declining to attend a meeting or to participate in any communication about religious matters or political matters. So those are not included in our ordinance. The ones that are not included in the state definition of protected persons under employment law are religion. Again, they use creed, not religion. In this case, the other one, it was flipped, but usually it's one or the other. We have both, particularly, and I guess I should back up a little bit. The reason why we have specifically articulated gender identity, gender expression, gender nonconformity, and transgender status is because last year the human resources policies, the citywide employment policies were updated and included a list of prohibited discrimination. And that list included these categories. So not only did we want to make our list reflective of state and federal law, but also of those new policies that had been adopted by council and implemented by human resources.
Alder Wery, could I just interject before? I had a question, maybe kind of backing up on that as well. You brought up a lot of points, and I think Alder Vanderleest had spoke before about the fact that the state and federal government have some things in place already, and what is the purpose of adding more to it? Before council, would it be possible to get information to all the alders as far as what the state does, what the federal government does, and what we're looking to do, as far as the differences that you mentioned that there's some similarities, but then there's also some that aren't?
I have a document with the differences in the protected classes that I can send to everybody. If you want more than that, if you want the differences between the specific provisions, that'll take me a little bit of time. But if you're just looking for the protected classes, I'm happy to.
Well, I would like to see that for all, the state, federal, and then local. you know, if we can at least use that as, so we can kind of decipher and look at it ourselves. I'd like that personally.
Sure. But I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So it's okay if it's just this protected classes list.
I was, well, for now, protected classes. Go ahead, Alder LaFave.
I think she should put in what we have down at the city human services.
Yep, I will.
Put that in so that they know that some of this is in there, which we put in the ordinance too, which wouldn't be specifically stated in the state or the federal.
You bet.
Okay.
Okay.
The reason that I ask about just the protected classes list is because, as I mentioned before, as far as prohibited discrimination and exemptions and all those other kinds of parts of the ordinance, those are mirrored already in state or federal law. So for the most part, it would just be these provisions are also found in state law, as opposed to, I mean, there's not really as many differences to highlight with respect to the provisions because they are largely, if not verbatim, they're very, very similar language.
Okay. And I think I'm glad that you mentioned that, you know, depending on what happens, that if the committee or commission will look at it and say, well, we can't handle that, that has to go to the state or federal government, depending. So that sounded good to me. Alder Weary, do you have anything else in here? Or are you still?
I do, but I'll wait, and there's some other people here too.
Okay. I was going to say, is there anybody from the public offhand that is out there that might want to speak? Attorney Bunger, do you see anybody? Oh, I see somebody's raising their hand. I would entertain a motion to open the floor.
Motion to open the floor.
Okay, by Vanderleest, seconded by LaFave. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. So, okay, I don't know how many are here, but there's somebody co-hosting here that could mention people.
Alder Story, before we move forward, I just wanted to get that motion in, and then.
All right. We did open the floor. So.
Yes, so the floor is open. Before anybody speaks, just in the interest of fairness and
3 minutes.
efficiency, yes, everybody will be restricted to 3 minutes. I'm not sure I can share my screen to do the 3-minute countdown that Celestine was able to do last time, but I can give somebody.
I got a phone here.
Okay, I can do it on my phone as well. And then.
Sorry, hello, sorry, Joanne.
Yes, hi.
Hi, yeah, I was in my office doing some work. Did you want?
You want to handle this?
Did you want the timer?
Yes, that would be great.
Go ahead.
All right, could you just give me a couple of minutes and I'll get that set up.
Okay.
Otherwise, we can start off and we can look at our, you know, so we don't have to wait too long. If there's somebody here to speak, I can keep track of the first caller.
Okay.
All right.
I think we have Cinnamon Harley has raised her hand. If she would like to unmute herself and then state her name and address for the record, and then we can start with her.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Cinnamon Harley. I live at 1198 Canterbury Road in Ashwaubenon, but I'm also a landlord and I have 22 units that are actually in Green Bay. The reason I'm speaking is on behalf of other landlords, not only with the apartment association, but also with groups. And none of us are actually opposed to the housing ordinance part. The landlords in Green Bay are actually hoping to collaborate with other groups, agencies, and the committee members to develop plans to minimize the issues that people and families are facing looking for affordable housing. We've already started talking with several groups and agencies who are actually excited to join in developing plans on how we can help them find permanent housing and to reduce the homelessness that we have in our area. And the Wisconsin Apartment Association, the state portion of it, is also working on a plan that could help reduce homelessness that could potentially be implemented statewide. We, as housing providers, are serious about working to find real solutions to homelessness. We do not think the action that you're considering will actually help, but we want to work with the city, the county, and local agencies to find real solutions to help everyone with this problem.
Is that it, Ms. Harley?
Yes.
Okay,
I guess I
thank you.
spoke really fast, but.
Thank you for those comments. Anybody have a question of Ms. Harley at all? Otherwise, we'll move on.
Next, we have Jeremy Lemire.
Okay.
Mr. Lemire, please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the committee.
Jeremy Lemire, 2648 Whitegate Trail, De Pere, Wisconsin. Also a landlord with multiple units in the Green Bay area, mostly duplexes, that sort of arrangement. Listening to the discussion today was rather interesting. It was actually the first understanding of what was on the agenda as far as the adjustments to protected classes. But during the discussion, I'd like to just provide feedback that I think on many occasions, the complexity of the ordinance being all combined between employment and housing, some of the details I think are getting lost underneath, specifically the identification of HUD-funded views on housing and promoting classes. They haven't fixed the protected classes on the federal level, but we're looking to do something tighter on the local level in support of their own programs. And I think it's rather interesting that we're going to tighten that up and try to do something locally, which is going to create a significant amount of confusion for the small landlords in the local market, where they're really focused on looking at state level statutes today. And for those who end up with specific properties in Green Bay, will be subject to something that they may or may not be aware that they need to follow. While the process of offering, I'll call it protection by using equal screening criteria, it will not insulate them from someone actually executing the opportunity to put a claim in, and then allows individuals to actually, in a way, provide a significant amount of burden to them to prove that they're using the appropriate screening measures to get themselves outside of those particular cases. I don't think we talked at all about what that process would look like after they're kind of exposed to a potential claim and trying to prove that their process is appropriate. And many of these folks don't have rigid processes because they have so few properties. So I just would like to be very clear about, you know, the nuance of one protected class that neither the federal nor the state level have addressed, but we're including it in the Green Bay ordinance. And I'm
okay. Thank you, Mr. Lemire. Anybody else have a question?
May I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you're saying that a lot of people don't, they go by the HUD ordinances and that, but would they, see, I'm trying to think, the city itself, I would assume they would, not, maybe I shouldn't assume, but this should be put on the, either a website or it should actually go to the landlords, the ordinance itself, so that they can have that in hand, so that they know that they were notified on these protective classes. It would protect them if they have this in hand and they know who the protective classes are. Would you say that would help?
I guess from my standpoint as a new, you know, I'm not a new landlord anymore, but walking into it a few years ago, I wouldn't know to go looking there, given that the state level, if I'm in Ashwaubenon with my first property and my second property is Green Bay, I wouldn't recognize to go somewhere else unless when I purchased the property, I received notice that there's some additional protected classes.
Oh, just when you purchase new property. So property that you already had, you won't be notified?
I can't answer that, but I'm just saying that because it's a Green Bay ordinance and my first home were in Ashwaubenon and I purchased my second one in Green Bay, I wouldn't realize that there's an additional set of protected classes unless I'm working with a a local apartment association or something that raises that awareness.
Alder Dorf, could you answer to that?
Well, I would just have a question. If someone was refused the ability to rent the property, Mr. Lemire, that you owned, and you would give them the reason as whatever this protected class you didn't want in your house or your property, and if they said, well, I'm going to make a complaint, wouldn't you then take it upon yourself to find out what the ordinances are in Green Bay or in any city?
Correct. I'm typically more proactive than that and like to understand those items ahead of time. And in this particular situation, I think the one of two things concern me. One is the ability for someone to file a claim that you're correct, that we may have specifically said that there's an income level issue, but yet at the same time, it doesn't stop them from filing the claim. The second one is if they do qualify for the property and we put them in place, my understanding is it's going to put the onus on the property owner to have to deal with the inspections and the resolution of all of those items to comply with meeting the requirements of the protected class.
Can I ask a question then of, let's see, Attorney Bunger? Would it be too much of an onus for the city to, if we pass all this and it passes the council, to send a notification to the landlords in Green Bay that they need to go on to a city site where this is posted?
I'm not sure. I would actually kind of defer this to Attorney Mather if she's still on.
Okay.
Actually, this is Attorney Savis. What I would say is that once the ordinance is adopted, that is really the notice to all of the people in the city, anybody who's affected by this, that this is in effect. I don't know that there's anything that we would be able to do as far as getting it to specific people unless they ask for it. Although I don't see any reason why they're doing some sort of awareness campaign, essentially.
Because I would think that, well, yeah, we can notice this in the paper and that, but not everybody gets the Press Gazette.
Alder, the city has a pretty good relationship with the apartment association. They're very active.
Okay.
The Green Bay Brown County Home Builders. I think that there'd be a way to disseminate that information through those groups at least, right?
Okay.
On social media.
I would like, right.
Stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to answer this gentleman's, concern. I can see the concern. Yeah, you have to know what these protective classes are now, how the definition is on here for them to be kind of protected so they know, what's going on. And so that's just what I wanted to bring up. So I hope that, I'm sorry I didn't write down your name, the gentleman who was just speaking, if he's still there. I hope that helps you, that
Mr.
this
Lemire,
will be.
Mr. Lemire.
Yeah. Well, do you believe that this would get out to everybody?
I think the larger scale property owners will be well aware of it very quickly. It is those who enter the real estate market and, in a sense, become blindsided if they're not affiliated with someone or mentored by someone in the local market, specifically Green Bay. This is a unique protected class compared to anywhere else in Northeast Wisconsin. So it is a little bit unique to place some of the categories into this window when most folks are working off the state statutes.
May I ask a question that, somebody is new and wants to, if they take over, say, a house that was divided into apartments, wouldn't that landlord, the owner who had that, it's on their onus then to tell the new owner that these are the rules now, you have to go on to the city site or whatever to find out this? And if it's if somebody is turning something into an apartment, which wasn't before apartments, don't they have to go through the city? And then they would find out this ordinance? So I'm not a landlord, and I don't deal in this kind of stuff, so I'm trying to find out myself.
It has to go through Plan Commission, and there's a whole list of things for that. Peg, we'll get to you in a minute. Anybody else for Mr. Lemire?
Mark, Chairman Sawyer, I have a question.
Go ahead, Alder Burnett.
Mr. Lemire, thanks for speaking. Now, obviously, you are speaking to the housing part of the Equal Rights Ordinance. Were you aware that this would also cover public accommodations and hiring human resource related issues in the city?
I didn't until I attended this meeting and heard that it's kind of all bundled into one ordinance. Not that it impacts me. I don't have an employment status in Green Bay, so that part doesn't affect me, but the rental side does.
Okay. The reason I state that, Chairman, is Alder Weary's point is correct then, is that many members of the public are looking at this from a housing perspective, unbeknownst to them that it also covers basically every transaction in the entire city of Green Bay in regards to public accommodations and every hiring and firing decision in the city of Green Bay. Mr. Lemire.
Okay, thank you, Alder Burnett. Anybody else for Alder Burnett? I'm sorry for Mr. Lemire. Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay. Who else is next? Thank you, Mr. Lemire.
If you'd like to speak, please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the committee. Peg, if you could
Peg would
unmute
like to
yourself.
speak, but she's muted.
Peg. Unmute.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm Peg Ellingson. I live at 229 Irene Street in Green Bay. And I manage properties for 7 different landlords, and they're all like mom and pop, and they got into the rental market years ago, and now they're retiring. So I try to keep them abreast of changing regulations and get their housing, keep it up to speed. But I know there's been a lot of pushback from some of them regarding accepting people on housing, because years ago, the people in the housing industry would have some accountability. The recipients would have some accountability. And now it seems they don't anymore, and that these folks that are receiving funding, although I agree a lot of them do need it, since there is no accountability to them, they don't tend to take as good care of the property as they should. And the landlord goes through all of these monetary expenses to make it past their standards and go through all of their paperwork and put a new lease and everything. And a year goes by and they come back and reevaluate, and the tenant has done damage. And now they have to start over and do it again in order for that person to still receive their housing. And it makes a difficulty for the landlord to want to participate in this. And there are ways then that they find to get around it, like raising their standards, their income requirements, their credit score requirements. And we're not interested in making it more difficult for these people. We would just like to work together and find a way so that some accountability is there, and the people who are receiving these funds don't just hide behind, I'm a protected class, you have to rent to me. You have to put up with my nonsense. It's just, the landlords then feel like these regulations are all put on them and it's forced down their throat. And like we said before, you know, we don't oppose the bill. We're not trying to segregate away from people, but the accountability factor has to come in somewhere. And if HUD's not doing the job, it seems like they're asking the municipalities to take on that responsibility and regulation for them. And I'm just wondering if there's a chance that we would then be able to work with this commission that you're talking about setting up to overcome some of these problems instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it and making an ordinance and then it should all go away.
Peg, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you, but we may ask some questions. Actually, Cheryl, if I could ask.
Yeah, thank you, Alder Story. I would just like to comment to that.
Yes, go ahead.
Brown County has over 3,500 vouchers within the county. So I just want to make sure that we don't just make this assumption that if you are on some type of a housing assistance, that you're a bad tenant. HUD provides a source of rent for tenants. It is totally up to the landlord to screen their tenants on this program. There is nothing that says through HUD that you can't deny someone housing if they have a poor background or the financial screening doesn't pass. So that kind of tells me that I think maybe we need to, education would be kind of good with regards to the programs for the voucher programs, because they are a little different. They do require leases, but I just want to make sure that landlords have the absolute ability to screen their tenants when they are renting to persons who have a voucher of any kind. I guess I wanted to make that really clear with the program.
Is there any backlash though, Cheryl? I mean, like I said, I think some of the landlords feel that there might be a backlash if they did that, if they have the rights, that somebody would come back and say, you're prejudiced against me or whatever.
You have good landlords have solid leases that they've had vetted out that they use for everyone. The leases that are provided through the agencies that provide the vouchers are solid. So I think that's where we need to educate landlords more on how the program runs, right? And how to best use those vouchers.
Okay. And Alder Dorf?
No, I don't know if this is the right time to say this or not, but I am perfectly fine with holding this till September 28th and noticing it as an equal rights ordinance, and also giving our attorneys some time to answer some of the questions that have come up, so they don't need to try to rush and get this done by September 15th. So I can ask for that now or after you close the floor. I just wanted to notice you that I'm very willing to have that in case you don't want to continue the conversation tonight.
I appreciate that. I think there are a number of questions. I know that some of the descriptions of the classes and that might seem a little heavy for a lot of folks. And then Alder Weary did bring up the fact that it was, we're looking at a housing ordinance. So do all these others preclude, and we need to speak about those as well because they tie in with it? So I think there are a few questions. There really are. And I appreciate you bringing that up, Alder Dorf. Anybody from the committee?
I'd like to hear the Mark?
Yes, go ahead.
Alder Vanderleest?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to hear it. The people that want to chime in tonight, I'd like to definitely hear from all the people that have phoned in. I think it's very, very good. Thank you.
All right. Well, Attorney Bunger, do we have a few more folks? We're still open. The floor is still open.
The floor is still open. I am not seeing any hands raised. If there's anybody who is connected who would like to speak, please go ahead and unmute yourselves. Again, is there anyone that would like to speak?
Okay.
I'm not seeing anyone.
I would make a motion, entertain a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
By Vanderleest, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by LaFave. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, well, Alder Dorf, I appreciate you bringing this forward because I think a lot of us have some questions. I think a lot of us want to see fairness. We want to see some good things done, and I appreciate your efforts on all of this. I don't want to preclude that at all. So I would really, I'll talk to the committee, and if other alders want to chime in, I can accept holding this. And Alder Dorf.
No, I think what I wanted to see accomplished tonight was accomplished. We finally talked about it. We've never
Right.
really talked about the
Well, that's part
individual
of it.
pieces of this ordinance before. We've just kept holding it and moving it and holding it. We've talked about it, and some legitimate questions came up, and I think that, you know, my purpose was to have us discuss it, and it finally got discussed. So I'm happy waiting until the end of September.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that because we held it 3 times, so we didn't really talk about it. So thank you for that. Alder Weary, did you want to say something?
And unmute, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yeah.
A question for whoever wants to answer it, but in reading the definitions and who this would apply to, from my reading, it really looks like it would apply really to any, as Alder Burnett said, pretty much everybody. I mean, if you're a bar or a restaurant, if you DJ weddings or sell cakes, it would apply to you.
I'm not sure. Well, I'll have to look that over
You're
again.
asking, that's true under state law currently as well, and federal law.
Okay, so what we're doing is we're adding, which you're going to flesh out. I had sent you an email while we were waiting about if you could highlight, you know, in yellow, here's what we're adding. That's not part of state or federal. Here is what we're adding, because that's really what we'd be looking at. Everything else we're going to refer off to state and federal, but what are we adding? And it looks, I mean, everybody's dancing around it, but it looks like regarding the, you know, the gender identity things. That's the big addition here. And it's come up, if you research this in other cities, it gets discussed. Bathroom issues, does that apply here? That's going to come up.
That's actually, I addressed that at the July meeting as well. State law already says that places of public accommodation and amusement are allowed to discriminate, not discriminate, they are allowed to separate on the basis of sex with respect to toilets, saunas, locker rooms, showers, etc. And we've added a provision in our ordinance that says those same exceptions that exist under state law apply under our ordinance. So we're not talking about a bathroom bill like some other cities have you know, had court challenges on and that sort of thing.
Okay, perfect. No, I appreciate it. And if we're going to discuss this in the future, then I don't really have any other questions right now. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Alder Weary.
Alders, if there are, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
If there are specific questions that you would like me to answer in writing in advance of the next meeting, please feel free to email them to me, and that way I can answer them ahead of time.
You bet.
And then I don't have to try to do it on the fly.
Right.
Appreciate it, Attorney.
Well, Lindsay or Attorney Mather, you know, Chris Alder Weary brought that up, and I also talked about it too, you know, some definitions that we need just to have the information. And Alder Dorf was right in saying that, you know, that we discussed it. And I think a lot of good points were brought forward, but there's some tweaking I think that needs to be done. And Alder Gerlach, you know, did some of that already. So we just want to see something good, something fair, and something that, you know, will work. So thank you for that. Alder Burnett, I thought you had your hand raised. Or not?
Yeah, no, thank you. Alder Dorf, I would recommend holding it too, just for the sake of publishing it as equal rights ordinance. I think
What
a
I
lot.
said. Yep.
I agree, and thank you for that. And the reason I state that is to give the public, to get good feedback from the public on something that impacts them. I'm in favor of any robust conversation at the committee level, and then the full city council. And I think that accomplishes it. And I also agree with you, it accomplished starting the conversation here. And it was very nice to hear the perspective of the few landlords who spoke. Quite frankly, I hadn't really thought of some of their points when I read the ordinance. So obviously I have my own opinions on the ordinance as written. I think we need to, as a city, look very closely at other ordinances like this that have been pushed in other municipalities that ended up in lawsuits. There was one in Kentucky where a federal judge ruled in favor of the person who was accused of discrimination in that case. And that was current, that was in August. And so from the time of the original conversation in July until now, a federal judge ruled one way. So we need to evaluate that. I don't want the city to get in a lawsuit unnecessarily. If we can add certain protections for religious people carrying out their conscience, their religious conscience, and making these decisions. And that's not necessarily my opinion. It's supported by the U.S. Constitution. So I'm concerned about that. But above all, I think the main thing is I'm definitely in favor of doing something to allow equality in the city of Green Bay and address some of the issues that we're seeing across the country, state, and within our own community. I'm not convinced that the ordinance as presented, as currently written, will accomplish that entirely. So I'm looking forward to a continued discussion. One thing that I find kind of odd, not in a bad way, just odd, is that Alder Gerlach mentioned that she approached after reading this and had some edits provided to the law department or Alder Dorf. I don't know who she was referring to. Is that something that alders are able to do? Like, so when I read this ordinance before it goes to the public at a committee meeting, can I ask that the law department change wording in the ordinance before it hits the committee?
So to clarify, Alder Gerlach approached with some questions, and based on the questions, I actually made the decision to change the language. So, I mean, I'll let Vanessa speak to this in more detail, but.
Will we accept our request to clarify language, not to actually change substance?
Okay, but that is a decision of the law office, because I don't want to dredge up private conversations, Attorney Chavez, but I asked for some language to be clarified, and I was not given, in my opinion, the same latitude. So I want to make sure that we're being non-discriminatory in creating our non-discrimination policy, quite frankly. So I want to have that. I'll have that discussion with you privately. I just wanted to address that because Alder Gerlach mentioned that. I don't know if we want to get in the habit of individual alders, allowing individual alders to alter.
Is this what's on the agenda right now? Point of
No,
order?
it's not.
I don't think so.
Hold on.
I think it should be private.
Hold on. Alder Burnett, I would handle it with Attorney Chavez. Your point's taken.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Otherwise, nobody else is out here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, with Alder Burnett, I'm a little concerned with the religion thing. We have how many different religious groups, sects or whatever in this country, and this kind of opens up a can right now, can of worms a little bit.
That'll be part of the discussion.
We're going to
we're not going to solve that tonight. We're not going to solve that tonight.
Yeah, right.
That'll be a point of discussion. All right, anybody else? Otherwise, I'd like to move on here. I'd like somebody make a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
By Vanderleest, do we have a second?
We already did close the floor.
All right, I apologize. It's been a lengthy discussion here. Sorry about that. All right, well, so can somebody on committee make that motion then? Alder Stevens, you're back. You didn't hear the discussion, so I don't know if you want to, you're just observing now.
What Alder Dorf proposed was a motion to hold the communication to the next Protection and Policy Committee meeting, which is September 28th, and to renotice the item as a communication from Alder Dorf to research and create an equal rights ordinance for the city of Green Bay.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Alder Lefebvre, are you good with that? You make that motion, Alder Lefebvre? Okay, do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.
Alder Vanderleest. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0. Thank you for all the discussion.
Okay, I'm officially back.
Okay, you're officially back. Okay.
I had Alder Stevens on that. I had Alder Stevens on that motion because I noticed he was back at 7:19, so I added him.
Okay, so he was part of the discussion then, or?
Correct. Yeah, he, not as part of the discussion, but he was,
Oh, I
part.
see.
He was on the motion to hold. He wasn't on the motions to open and close.
Okay. All right. All right. Are we ready? Are we ready
Yep,
here?
we are on to item number 4.
All right. Last but not least, we have the consideration with possible action on a request by Alderman or Alderperson Weary to approve a resolution in support of the Green Bay Police Department. Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm hoping this one will be an easy one. You know, with a lot of the high levels of, vitriol we've seen towards, police departments around the country, I thought it would be good to work on something positive. And so I did ask, work with Chief Smith, and he gave me a lot of the things that are in here, half of mine, half his. And it highlights positive changes and approaches by our police department and recognizes them appropriately. And that's really all that was meant for.
Okay. Actually, I appreciate that effort because a lot of times we hear some proactive things from our police departments and sometimes that gets lost. And I appreciate having those bullet points there to do that. I'm very much in favor of this. I don't know, committee or alders, anybody?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I just want to say the bullet points are there specifically because we will get asked a lot, well, what are you doing? What is our police department doing? And this is a good way to say, hey, look, we're trying to stay ahead of the curve here. So.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, Chairman.
Any other alders? Yeah, go ahead, Alder LaFave.
Yeah, I'm glad that these definitions are in here because this is clear for the public too to know what's going on and to know that we are behind effective, responsible policing. Mm-hmm. That are I think we have a really good police department, and our chief of police, I support him 100%. I believe that he believes in accountability. And he demands it of his officers too. And I really think this is good the way it's worded. I really do like it.
All right. Thank you. Alder Dorff, and then Alder Stevens.
Oh, I was going to say Barb.
Oh, yeah, Alder Dorff.
Yeah, I certainly agree and support having a resolution recognizing the Green Bay Police Department. And I looked at this resolution and I had Alder Weary know that there were some grammatical issues that I was concerned with, some wording I was concerned with. And then as I read through it more, those of you who have taken English, you know what parallel construction is. I was concerned that with that paragraph, with all the bullet points, it just didn't flow. And I think we could do better. Well, then I actually was kind of concerned because as I was reading it, well, I put one of the paragraphs into Google, and this is actually a plagiarized resolution in support of the Green Bay Police Department. It actually, I found it in Berea, Kentucky, had this identical resolution. And then I also found another city in Florida, an island in Florida, that had this identical resolution. And this is what I'd like to propose. I would like to propose a committee of 4 of us, including Alderman Weary, to come with a unique resolution specific to the city of Green Bay that shows our values and our reasons for supporting our police department, not vote in favor of a plagiarized resolution. So I'd like to see someone like Alder Gerlach, who was an English teacher for many, many years. And Alder Weary, because he had the idea. I'd like to be on it. And I'd also like to see Alder Gerlach. I think I would like to hold this till September 28th and have us meet and come up with a Green Bay resolution that supports our Green Bay Police Department and is very specific to Green Bay. What do you think about that?
Alder Weary, do you have
Sure, certainly. Well, I would say looking in here, point out what isn't Green Bay. All of those bullet points are from the chief there up on the top. Do we not recognize and honor selfless and heroic service? Yeah, we do. Do we not rely on law enforcement officers to keep our neighborhoods safe and enforce our laws? We do. Do we not think they face the threat of violence and danger every day? Well, of course they do. So I don't know what in there you'd be opposed to.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I know you, Alder Dorf, you talked about plagiarizing and such, but, I don't know. I don't know if that might be a little harsh to me. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to this, to the things it says. I am opposed to using something that another community created. I think that we're intelligent enough and that we can create our own resolution, and we can pull in some things more specific to Green Bay. And that list of items, I don't think it's well done. I don't think the resolution flows. And maybe I would ask Alder Gerlach if she, as an English teacher, has any ideas on this.
Alder Gerlach?
I don't wish to speak as an English teacher right now.
Okay, sorry.
I haven't really read it that carefully. I would just like to say that this is the way I see it. I didn't read it, and I think we have the most amazing police chief, and I think we are so lucky to have a man who's had such wonderful experience. And my assumption is that when you have a police chief like that, you can probably assume that you've got a great police force. And I am 100% behind our police force. And I would like to see a resolution that does support them. Personally, I've had very little experience with police in my lifetime, but since I've been an alder, my experiences have all been positive. But this is my concern right now. I think this is bad timing to just focus on supporting the police, because there is always the danger, and I know it's not intended, I understand that, but there's always the danger when you support one organization or one part of the community that you inadvertently suggest to some others, or they interpret it that way, that they're being left out. I'd like to work with Alder Dorf and Alder Weary on this. I'd like to see a resolution that really is truly Green Bay. And I would like to see, for example, one thing, I would like to honor our police force because they protect the First Amendment rights of all the people of Green Bay. Because I want to honor the people who have protested in the last few months. And I know there's been all kinds of problems, but I don't want to leave those people out. And I think this could be very insensitive timing if we're not thoughtful about it.
Wow.
Thank
Okay.
you, Alder Gerlach.
All right. Thank you for that. I'd love to be involved too, because I think this is something that's very important. Alder Weary, are you okay with this? Are you all right with, I think that we'll have a good document. I know you're looking at it from, this is well enough. I think, you put some effort into it, but can you take some of the advice that was brought forward and incorporate that or not?
Your committee, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, my feeling is that I'd like to just tighten it up a little bit. I think it's good. I think it's very good, but I think we are Green Bay. I'd like to be a leader on this, so I think we need to look at it specifically. And if we tighten it up a little bit, I think that would be a good route to go. And I definitely want you to be totally involved with this. So that's my thought. Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
That we bring this to a committee of the D5 now. And it would be yourself, Alder Dorf, Alder Weary, Alder Gerlach, and Alder Galvin, if he is amenable to it.
Is that
to our next protection of policy? Or do you want to wait till the following? Let's see, that's the 28th, right? Does that give them enough time, or they want to extend
Is that enough time? We're going to have a big meeting, with this ordinance. It's a time, in a way I can see why it's time sensitive in a sense, because, there's been a lot of rancor going on in the country and that, and I think we're trying to state that, we're we're doing our best here. As far as the time, if it's not time sensitive, I don't feel that it's extremely time sensitive. I think we could do it. I think we could do it for our next meeting. Is that all right?
Okay.
Alders?
And I would think that it's not going to be a big drawn out one. I would think when we got 5 of you coming up with a good ordinance,
my thought would be, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. My thought would be to have all 5 alders write up some of their things, and we'll share that ahead of time, so that when we get to the meeting, we'll have it pretty much in order. That's my thought. Alder Burnett.
Thank you, Chairman Sperry. I'll be honest, it's strange. I mean, to create a committee to draft a resolution, I don't think we've ever done that. Usually the city attorney's office, under the direction of the mayor or a city council member, draft a resolution. I mean, why do we need 5 people to draft a resolution to support our police? Either you support the resolution as presented or not. We have adopted resolutions that were based on other municipalities' resolutions. In fact, we just did one probably like 3 or 4 months ago. There was some concern that people in the Asian community were going to be discriminated and targeted due to COVID. And there was something that came out of Minneapolis, I believe, and we passed it unanimously as a city council. So we basically replicated that and made it unique to Green Bay. So, I mean, come on. Okay, we don't need a committee of 5 to draft a proclamation or resolution in support of our police. What is presented, I think, is a very valid and it was drafted with Chief Smith's input. I mean, we can do what we can. You do what you want to do as a committee, but I'll support this at the full city council. I see no reason to drag this out. Thank you.
All right.
Chairman.
A lot of opinions. Interesting. Oh, Alder Johnson.
Thank you, Alder Stoyer. And I'm just looking for if the city attorney could chime in on this. If we are going to create a subcommittee that is comprised of a majority of the members of this committee, would we not be violating walking quorum law if it is not a properly noticed meeting?
That was a thought. Yes. Thank you for that.
What we do in that case is we notice it as a meeting of the parent body as well.
Okay, and the only reason I bring that up, whether the committee, tonight's committee chooses to create a committee to redo this or not is neither here nor there to me. I just want to make sure that we are in compliance if in fact we do decide to create the subcommittee.
Mark, I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Alder Van der Leest.
I feel that we can support what Mr. Wary and our chief have talked about and discussed. I don't think we got to draw it out. I think it's very, very well done. And, regardless if it mirrors another municipality, if the chief and Mr. Wary got together on it, it's fine. I think it's fine. So I'm gonna support what we have on the agenda right now.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right, Alder Stevens.
Yeah, I have a question or comment. So I read this. I feel comfortable with this, except for the last enforcing the rule of law and protecting the innocent. My suggestion was we strike out innocent and we put protecting all.
Are you Alder Wary?
Well, that's amenable. That's certainly a good change. Yeah.
Because the police department needs to protect everybody, just not the innocent.
I know Alder Dorf. Go ahead, Alder Dorf.
And there's other grammatical changes, but my understanding is the police chief simply sent a list of things to Alder Wary because Alder Wary asked him for a list of policies and procedures, et cetera. So he didn't really have any part in, well, of course he didn't have any part in writing the ordinance. Berea, Kentucky wrote the ordinance, or I'm sorry, the resolution. That was from Berea, Kentucky. So
point of order, I just wanted to correct you. That is not correct. I sent this the way it is without his additions and asked him what he thought of it.
Oh,
he read it and said it looks perfect. So to say that he didn't review it is not correct. I wanted his input. I wanted his explicit input.
Okay.
I didn't say he didn't review it.
Don't say that he didn't look at it.
I didn't say he didn't look at it.
No, Alderdorf, you had wanted to bring something forward too at committee level. You weren't aware that you weren't aware that Alder Weary was bringing something forward. So
right.
How much different was your input on something like this? Was it much different? I mean,
it was certainly more. It was certainly more original than this is. And I'm not that I'm saying any of these things are bad things. I think they could be written differently.
I think, you've insinuated that a little bit by talking about plagiarism and stuff. And Alder Burnett did mention that, we have looked at other ordinances in other communities. So the word plagiarizing, I think, is a little strong. And
do you?
Yes,
he said he said it was from him. He said he wrote it right in this meeting. I'm sorry, it's not strong. And maybe if we attribute it, perhaps we could do this the correct way and attribute it to the Bay Area, Kentucky. Maybe we'd want to do that. I just think we could write one for Green Bay. I also agree with Alder Gerlach that our timing is a little off by doing it right now. I think that people's nerves are still a little frayed from what's going on.
You either stand for something or you stand for nothing. I'm fine with moving forward to this, and I want no part of your little 5-person committee. So do it with what you want. I'm going to bring this up at committee at council. We've never done this for other just,
Alder Gerlach? Okay.
Resolution.
All right. Alder Gerlach?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm not on the committee, but I wonder if I might ask through you whether Alder Weary would just be willing to put something in that that states that the police protect the First Amendment rights, and to be sensitive to the fact that there are some people perceive, correctly or not, declarations supporting the police as perhaps being against them, and we just don't want to. We don't want to rate that insensitivity right now. Would that be okay?
I think that's a good addition. That is a very good addition. Yeah, and I would just have the legal department draft that where is. It would be an easy line to add.
Thank you.
So with that being said, then would that, Alder Weary, are you looking for that to be brought up at council the way that with those slight changes?
Yeah, unless there's any others, but I think that's a good addition, definitely.
I agree in the sense, I know I had talked about the committee of 5, but, Alder Johnson brought up a few things. And, if we discuss it at the committee right now, and we are discussing it, so I don't see why we can't make those minor changes now and just move forward. All right. So Alder or Attorney Bunger, do you have those two changes?
We had a motion by Alder Lefebvre.
Lefebvre, yeah.
That didn't have a second.
And I'll retract that. I'll make a new motion that we include I'm trying to remember what, Alder Gerlach is very, very good at stating things.
Yes, Alder Lefebvre. So what I have in my notes is we had a motion, so it would be a motion to amend to strike the word innocent from the last portion and change that to protect all.
Yeah.
And then to add that police protect the First Amendment rights of the community.
Okay, that's my motion.
That's your motion to accept that? Do we have a second? Lieutenant Mahoney.
I would just like to say from the police officer perspective, it's very nice to have this motion. When you single out a certain amendment to the Constitution, to me it diminishes every officer took the oath to uphold and protect. I understand the First Amendment is very passionate right now, but I know it's not mine and you're doing it on the benefit of the department. But to me, if you single out one amendment, why aren't you including all of them? Because I took an oath to the Constitution for all amendments, not just the First Amendment, all of them. So when you single one out, to me, you're doing a disservice to the Constitution for all the other amendments that myself and every other officer took the oath for.
Okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Then
go ahead.
maybe we need to put that somewhere in here also at the bottom. But I think the first part, the First Amendment, because that's what people are so passionate right now that we're all, talking about. It needs to be noted first maybe, and then, police, but also that the police officers uphold.
Well, Lieutenant Mahoney brings up a good point. The resolution is in support of the Green Bay Police Department. If you do just one, the First Amendment and not include the others, according to him, they're the ones that enforce it. So, Alder Gerlach?
I would then suggest, and I really appreciate the comment by Lieutenant Mahoney, that perhaps it should simply say that the police department protects the constitutional rights of people.
Okay, that's a good way.
I'm good with that. Attorney Bunger, can you add that accordingly?
Yeah, so I've changed First Amendment rights of the community to the constitutional rights of the community.
Okay.
So we would do a motion, so that would be the motion to amend, and then we would do a motion to approve as amended.
Alder Stevens, did you have something first, Alder?
Before we amend, is there any other thing that other alders would like to have added?
I think it's good, but thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so go ahead, Attorney Bunger, did you have that in?
Yes, so we have those two changes, the changing of innocent to all, to protect all, and then upholding the constitutional rights of the community versus just First Amendment. That motion was made by Alder Lefebvre, so we need a second.
Before we do that, Alder Dorf, go ahead.
I think we have to change never authorized nor trained, add the ED onto the 4 chokeholds, because that, otherwise it's not correct grammatically. So in that bullet point, I think there was an apostrophe missing somewhere. And we also have emphasized de-escalation. That shouldn't be a capitalized de-escalation, make that a small d.
Alder Dorf, what would you like for that to make appropriate grammatical changes?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
There should be appropriate grammatical changes. That's definitely part of what needs to be done.
All right. And that'll be brought forward at council. We can look at it, so.
Okay.
All right, are we good?
Okay.
Do we have a second?
That should encompass all of that. Okay.
And you'll put that in there, right? So
yep.
Alder
And to make
Lefebvre?
appropriate grammatical changes, that's in
Yes,
there. Okay,
thank you.
so
Thank you.
we still
Thank you,
need
Alder Dorf.
a second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Stevens. All in favor? Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 That passes unanimously.
And now a motion to
Thank you
approve.
for your input. I know that's passionate and stuff, but we like our police department. I think they've done a great job, but there were some good points, and feathers get a little ruffled on this kind of stuff, but I think it's important that we have the discussion. So
Alder
thank you.
Sawyer, we now need to approve as amended.
Okay, a motion. Do I have a motion for that?
Motion.
Motion to approve is amended.
Motion by Stevens, seconded by Lefebvre. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank everybody. I guess sometimes we go too much ahead of ourselves, but I like the discussions, and I think we finally came to a good conclusion with everybody chiming in, and I thank that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. It's not always easy discussion, but, I think it was good, and I'm glad we had it. So, All right. My agenda got goofed up here, so what's next?
Yep, we are on the liquor violation report for September 3rd.
My favorite part. Lieutenant Mahoney.
Yes, we had one violation during this time. A written warning was issued to the Getaway Bar for having a bartender operating without a license. A proper referral was done. I can tell you our community police officers are monitoring that to make sure that does not happen again.
Will there be, let me just ask, if this continues, they could lose their license possibly, or maybe that's an attorney question.
Yeah, our normal steps is, yes, it could be cited, then based off their citations, it could be brought in front of you for either revocation or non-renewal next year.
All right. All right. Thank you for that, Lieutenant. Okay, so what's next?
We just need to do a motion to receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file.
By Stevens, seconded by Vanderleest. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. So
And we are on to adjournment.
who wants to do it?
Adjourn.
Motion by Vanderleest, seconded by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you again for the spirited discussion, everybody. You're all great people.